take over.
And tell me if you can see my PowerPoint.
Yes, it can.
Okay, well, thank you and welcome everybody. And here we are, another month, right? So I'll just jump right into this. We're going to, I'll give you a quick sales update. I'll tell you how the company's been doing and how the Andavo brand's doing specifically. And then we're going to spend most of the time talking about the Delta variant. Oh, it sounds like a joyous topic, huh? And most of it, a lot of this you already know about. So I'll give you my disclaimer in advance and tell you that some of this you already know. So much of it actually, but we'll start out with the sales, and this again is the company-wide sales trend. So we saw a very nice increase. This is right back to the beginning of the year. So we saw a very nice increase, and it got up even higher. And then in the last 4 weeks ago, it sort of peaked. It was about the third week of July, and then it started going down. This next slide is the sales. So that last one was airline ticketing trends. This too is all sales, all divisions. This is Christofferson, Andavo, AMI, and CV, how we're all doing, and that the Delta variant is sort of very visual there, right? It's almost like a mirror image of things going up for about well, honestly, since the beginning of the year, it just went up consistently, and then it peaked out, and then it's just been going down slowly. This next slide is actually the Andavo only, and so it gives you a little bit better. And I ran this one. I think I ran this Saturday, so it would be in terms of, I think I ran it Saturday afternoon, so it would be right through. Basically, it's the third week of June, or rather May. So this first bucket here 2 months ago is sort of May 20th to June 20th. The next bucket is June 20th, July 20th, which is that peak period that we saw. And then this third bucket is the July 20th to August 20th. And same thing, kind of a mirror image of just the Andavo. This division peaked out at 5.3 million there when things were looking pretty rosy, and then they started going down slightly after that. However, if you go back a slide, even where we're at, is still significantly better than, with the exception of that 30-day period from middle of June to the middle of July, which would be right in here. It's still better than any 30-day period since the beginning of the year. So we're still actually booking a lot of travel, as are all of you, relatively speaking, if you look at the year holistically. The next slide is our overall sales model. And at the beginning of the year, I set that blue line. It was a very simple trend. All I did was said, here's where we're starting out at the beginning of the year. And I did a what if on a straight, simple 7% compound growth rate every month. We forecasted that we would grow from, a little below 20 million to that number there. And the orange line is the actual sales for the last 7 months. So this is on a calendar month basis. So it's January through the end of July. And we're still about we're actually about $18 million ahead in total bookings from where we thought we would be I don't know that we really thought we would be there. We just had to do a forecast, had to pick a number and do a what if so that we could do some planning. And we're actually, quite a bit ahead of that for this 7-month period. So, things are still going good. And then the Delta variant hit. And this is not a new chart, although it's a simple chart and a very visual one. This is all of the COVID-19 cases in the U.S. on a weekly basis, really a daily basis, charted out from the very beginning of the pandemic all the way here to the left to the middle of August. And it's pretty visual to see, they're calling this the fourth surge. Not sure. It kind of looks like there's already been 4 surges. 1, 2, 3, 4. Looks to me like it's the 5th surge, but they're calling it the 4th surge. they're probably not counting this first one. They're probably counting this as the first surge. Last summer we had a surge, and it went down in the fall, and then we had the big surge. Of course, this would represent the Thanksgiving week. This one represents the Christmas New Year's week when people are getting together, and then things got really rosy, kind of leveled out, got even better, and then here we are. So you know this is sort of what you already know, but it's a nice simple visual. And so this is this is an article that was written, and in that second paragraph, it says the Delta variant of COVID-19 in July and August blasted its way through the United States unvaccinated population, highlighting the segment of Americans who thus far have declined to take a coronavirus vaccine and, spurring blah, blah, blah. So it just tells you what we've been seeing in the last several, 4 weeks or whatever. But I love the second part of this, which says hope reigns, and that's how I feel as well. So we'll hang on to those words. The next one is another one that you've probably all seen, and that is that, and this was on August 12th, so it was a week ago. But they tracked the TSA checkpoint screenings, and there was a consistent drop in airport screening. So a little article about that, which you all heard of, I'm sure. And then this is an interesting one. This is the all ARC tickets, all travel agencies in the United States. So first one being business travel agencies, the second one being leisure travel agencies, and the top one being the online travel agencies, Expedia, Priceline, etc. And this is where, interestingly enough, the industry peaked out in the second week of July, and we actually had a really good week in the third week of July. So our run went a full week longer than the industry as a whole. For whatever reason, we had a really great week on this week that ended July 18th, and then it started to go down from there. But it went down, went up again, started to go down again. This number here, as compared to this number here, are interesting because we peaked out at about 50% of 2019 numbers in that second week of July as an industry, and then we dropped down to 62% for corporate, which our numbers are blended corporate and leisure into this line. But it was a 12-point drop as an industry. It went from down 50 to down 62 in that 5-week period. So pretty significant drop in airline ticketing over a 5-week period. The next slide is applies more to our AMI division, but I think it applies across the board. But this is 4 different meeting managers that all got together and were interviewed about their views of how this is going to impact in-person meetings. And this is a fluid situation. We haven't seen a lot of meetings get canceled, interestingly enough. We had one big meeting get canceled for Intermountain Healthcare, which is a big hospital network that we handle, the corporate travel.
Mike, you got muted.
Oh, what did you hear me say last?
The Intermountain Healthcare meeting. Yeah.
So my question was, are you attending some meetings this week in person?
I am. I'm in Aspen.
So there's a lot of meetings going on still. That's the whole point. There's still a lot of meetings going on. We had one big meeting get canceled, but that's it. We have a lot of other meetings that are still scheduled for this fall. Okay, enough of the bad news. We're going to switch now for a minute to some better news. I'm not going to say it's great news, but it's better news. The better news, this was an article that I really appreciated. This one was an interview with Sabre, with the CEO of Sabre, Sean Menke. And they talked about the fact that bookings had started to stall in the last half of July. But of course, the key word here is, they're still very optimistic on demand going forward. I share that view. This next one is also good news. This was the July's job number, and it was a blowout number. that there were more jobs, significantly more jobs created in the month of July in the United States than what the economic forecasted had predicted, which was very good news. And it's particularly good news because of the areas that they were in. This top area, of course, is our industry, and it reflects more of the hoteliers and the restaurants and those sort of related hospitality companies. I believe the airlines are probably down here in transportation. But we depend, all of us, all of you, all of us are really dependent on these hoteliers and these other vendors at the destinations we're sending our clients to be able to take good care of them. And we've known for a long time that they're all shorthanded and understaffed and having a hard time keeping up with their service levels. And so I thought that was pretty positive that, that the thing was, that there were a lot of jobs created. They found a lot of people to staff those businesses that we send our customers to when we send them for various vacations, trips, whatever. The next slide is old news to all of you because many of you participated in this hybrid event. But I wanted to just pause here for a minute and just sort of share my thoughts. Camille and I attended this along with Kirsten and Meredith and many of you. And it felt like that this is possibly, at least in the short term, maybe our new normal for the way meetings will be held and events. And I thought it was pretty effective. They're easy to say for those of us that were there in person that didn't have any change in our experience, other than we had to wear masks and prove that we had been vaccinated. We had to do those two things, but they did not require that we wore masks in our own private events. We knew that everybody attending was vaccinated and felt reasonably safe. And I thought they did a nice job. Many of you attended this, so I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but I thought they did a nice job of making the digital people, the online people, feel welcome and feel part of it. I thought that was a nice touch in the main event when they showed all of the people that were logged in on one screen, and then a photo of all of us that were in the audience on a screen side by side, and kind of brought us all together, both in person and digital. And the fact that they had their keynote speaker, Adam Grant, was connected digitally and did his presentation online, was sort of a nice event. We talked to Matthew Upchurch about that in our annual review with him, and he said, to be honest with you, he wasn't able to travel to Las Vegas, and so we didn't have any choice. But even Matthew said it worked out really nice that they could kind of show that we were even the presenters were somewhere in person and somewhere hybrid. And I agree. I thought that was a nice touch. Any comments, Kirsten or Meredith, on how you felt about the blended hybrid event?
Like you, I think it went very well. Allie was on the virtual side, and I kept in contact with her throughout the week, and she said that it was going very well, and the virtual side was presented very good.
I mean, the reality is we don't want it to go too well, right? We want
Right.
people to feel like they're going to have a better experience if they attend things in person, because that's the way we want people to do things. Otherwise, they don't need to travel. But at least in this transition period, while we're, trying to figure out how to get out of this pandemic, I think it's nice that they can do that as opposed to canceling the meetings.
Mm-hmm.
I would agree with you too. And I felt our experience in Las Vegas, it was really like any other travel week. I mean, the experience was the same. It was smaller, but I think everybody who was there really, really enjoyed it. And Kirsten and I are both here in Chicago at the ASTA conference. Same thing. And I have to say, Mike, you just mentioned those figures that TSA was a little bit down. Coming through O'Hare, you would never know it because that
You would
place
not know
was
it.
packed.
Yeah, I agree. The traveling that I've done this year has felt the same way. Just jam-packed airports everywhere I've gone now. I haven't actually, traveled in the last couple of weeks, so I'm I haven't seen, if it's died down, but that's good to hear that the airports are still slammed. And by the way, they said 1.7 million people went through the airport in that one day, which was a drop, but that's still a lot of people, still moving a lot of people through the airport. So we just want our little share of that. Thank you all for your comments. This, of course, you all saw. This is great news. We do a fair amount of business in Canada, both on the leisure side and the business side. I think it's a sought after destination with our, Mexico and Canada being our two neighboring countries. I think they're both sought after destinations for a lot of reasons. And we were pleased to see this, that they're going to, we're pleased that they opened up their borders. That's what we were really pleased about. They'd already announced that back, that would happen in August. And then this is just another requirement saying we're going to make sure that the people come across are vaccinated, which seems to be the part of our new reality as well. This next one is not really an announcement, just a comment that there's a lot of discussion in the industry about how this, we had to upload our vaccination papers for the Virtuoso event, which seemed to work fine. But if there were a passport that had that already done for you that you could show similar to a regular passport, then it's possible that could create, reduce the friction involved in having our travelers travel and being able to have that information available at all points. So not an announcement, but just an indication that there's more discussion about it. I don't know exactly how that's going to all play out. This was a particularly interesting article. This article was actually last week. I believe it was last Monday that this was printed in the Wall Street Journal. So it's fairly fairly new information. Relatively current information. It does go back to the beginning of the year. The analysis they did was for the entire year of 2021, January, and so it goes from January 31st through mid-August or whenever that their survey was done. But they found out that in their survey that there were 193,000 breakthrough cases, so-called breakthrough cases, in the first 8.5 months of the year. Now that's the numerator, and it sounds like a lot, 193,000, and it is a lot. However, the denominator, how many people were vaccinated during that same period of time that was measured against, was 136 million. So 193,000 as a percentage of 136 million is only 0.1%, 1/10 of 1%. I think the ratio is a little bit higher during the Delta period, but for the entire Delta variant period, but for the entire 8.5 months, it is only 0.001. And as we all know, when the various pharmaceutical companies got the vaccines temporarily approved initially, Pfizer was approved either yesterday or today on a permanent basis. But when they were approved, they said that the efficacy or the success ratio was only expected to be, I think the lowest was Johnson & Johnson, which was like 70%, and the highest was either Pfizer or Moderna in the mid 90s, like 95%. So they always expected there to be breakthrough cases, and that's the case with the flu shots as well. And 70 to 95%, or so far the data says 99.9%, for the first 8.5 months of this year is significantly better than they had even forecasted. So, but it was pre-Delta variant, so their tests were done on all the variants that were known at the time, and they still expected a lot of breakthrough cases and haven't had anywhere near as many as they forecasted. So I think it's still positive. This next slide is particularly interesting to me, and it's a survey that was done by BCD, and they surveyed all of their travelers, or I don't know how they surveyed their travelers or the travel managers, but they determined with an independent survey what percentage of their travelers were currently vaccinated, and what percentage expected to become vaccinated and when. And if you add up the first three columns, it's 53%. So they said it by the end of Q2, which would have been June 30th, they were at 53%. And the survey was just done last week. And so it was already through the middle of Q3. And they, based on what they saw happening in Q3 with their travelers and what they were forecasting, they forecasted there'd be another 27% of their travelers vaccinated by the end of September. So that brings it up to 80% of their travelers they are forecasting will be vaccinated by the end of September. And then they're forecasting that, you know, that the vaccine hesitant will eventually come along and that there will only be 6% of their travelers unvaccinated. Now, that is not, that is the business travel market, not the leisure travel market. And I don't know how it would translate across, but it nonetheless indicated that people who are planning to travel frequently are planning to become vaccinated by and large, which I thought was positive for our industry if this forecast turns out to be true. Ultimately, we could all survive pretty easily if 94% of our customers became vaccinated and elected to travel. By the way, that doesn't mean they'll travel, just means that they elect to become vaccinated. There may be a smaller subset of that 94% that would elect to travel, but I don't know exactly how they did this, but it was a survey they published, and I thought it was positive. So then the real question is, you know, what does this mean for us? And, you know, how do we see the future and how are we going to navigate through this? And while we don't know, of course, well, let me pause before I share this next thought and say that I will assure you that we are in good financial condition. We have continued to operate conservatively through this pandemic from the very beginning. We've made good, prudent, conservative decisions, and we are going to continue to be conservative. And while we were maybe a little bit more optimistic 4 weeks ago as to what the next number of months may look like than we are today, I'm extremely optimistic that we have nothing to worry about in terms of getting through this. We are prepared. As I've told you many times, we're completely debt free. We still have good liquidity, and we have the ability to get through this. And we're investing money in areas for the future. We are squarely focused on the future and investing in the future, and doing all kinds of things. So I've been talking a lot. I had a lot to cover. But the next thing I want to show you is this quote that I found from James Clear. I am enjoying James Clear and would invite any of you that have not subscribed to his monthly weekly newsletter, it is a weekly newsletter. I would invite you to do so. You can go to jamesclear.com. And he said he's not interested in whether the glass is half empty or half full. He's interested in figuring out how to fill the glass. Actually, it's a quote from a source of his. I like this quote, and I feel the same way. We don't know if there's going to be 94% of our customers traveling going forward. We don't know if there's going to be 60%. We don't know if there's going to be 80%. We don't know how many of them are going to travel next quarter versus the following quarter versus the following quarter versus wait until 2022. We don't know. But what we do know is that we have the ability to find more customers. And that's what we're doing. We're working on that with all four of our divisions. On the Christofferson side, with the Andavo side, with AMI, with CV. We're working to add more business clients, more independent contractors, more meetings and events clients, and more humanitarian clients to the mix, making sure that we're providing a better value proposition than anybody. And we're going to just figure out how to keep filling the glass until it gets to where we want it to be. And I believe we will. And with that long, fast overview of what's going on in my world, our mutual world, open up the chat session and hit me with some questions.
Or you're free to open up your mics, unmute yourself and
Yeah, you can ask in your chat. Either way.
Hey, Kirsten.
Hello.
Mike. How you guys doing?
Good, David. How are you?
Good. We're on a crystal cruise. I'll give you
And
some
say,
video.
where are you currently at?
We are currently on another crystal cruise. I will warn you, what they've started doing is requiring masks and not notifying guests. So just a heads up on that. It seems to be the new trend. But yeah, they invited us to go again. Then on Saturday or Sunday, they decided to require masks without sending out a notification. But other than that, we're here in Miami on a relatively empty and cheap crystal cruise for round 2.
Where are you going to travel to?
We're going to the Bahamas again. It's the same exact route we did 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago. Just goes to Bimini and Great Exuma, and I forget all the other ones. Long Island, Nassau, all that. So.
And the ship's fairly empty though, huh?
Yeah, I mean, they're having some trouble selling it from what I gather, and also, they're pretty. This is a relatively disorganized thing. Example: a month ago, I sold a guy the day before, and they had a freak out because they said you can't sell a cruise the day before. We ended up getting on the ship fine, but it's very disjointed. But it's okay. Like, you just have to be very flexible with your clients and let them know, like, hey, if you're going on a crystal cruise, or any of the cruises right now, they're just going to change the rules whenever. You know what I mean? Like, and you got to be
Yeah, I
open.
think that's true pretty much with anything that we're doing right now. It's managing those expectations as travelers are beginning to experience what COVID travel looks like with
I agree, but
the hotel that I'm staying at for Asta, we get rooms worked every 4 days. So, there's not housekeeping on a daily basis. There's, restaurants that may not be open every meal. So different things, it's in that, managing those expectations of what they're going to experience as they start to travel again.
yeah, I mean, you even have to inform them. I think at this point, I've been informing all my travelers that what is good today is
It's
never good
can
tomorrow.
change in an instant.
And there's no guarantee unless you're going to Florida.
Yeah.
That's the current thing.
What is everybody seeing as far as bookings, slowdown, cancellations, things like that? Is it sort of following visual trends that I just showed you?
I've had one COVID-related cancellation on my side, but I'll let the rest of the group take over.
Well, while we're waiting to hear, I will share with you that our personal travel advisor, Sheila Farley, booked myself and my wife and our grandchildren on a trip to Asheville, North Carolina, starting next Friday, and then connecting to Charleston, South Carolina, and we're splitting the time between those 2 destinations, and then coming home from there. And we don't have any plans to cancel, and we're still traveling. Looking forward to it. And if a few people cancel and it's less busy while we're at these destinations, all the better.
Catherine asked, where are you staying while in Asheville?
Sheila, are you on? She found this. We're staying right on the Vanderbilt. We're staying right on the Vanderbilt property at the. I think it's called the Inn at the Biltmore.
Inn at the Biltmore.
Yeah, tell them about it. It's kind of cool. Sounds cool.
Well, yeah, it's the only property on that's part of the estate. It's a ways from the house, but yeah, it's first class. It's got a lot of activities that you can sign up for. It's beautiful, and they're all staying there. Then I did find a virtuoso property, and I don't know if anybody's used it over in Charleston, South Carolina, at the Beach Club. I'd like a little feedback on that if any of you guys have put anybody there, but it is a virtuoso property, and that's where they're staying in South Carolina.
Yeah, Jamie Jackson is on her way here to Chicago right now. She would probably have some great feedback.
By the way, Jamie Jackson is the one that told me about James Clear, and that had me. I signed up from on the blog through her, and I love it. It's a really great motivational 2-minute read every week. I think it comes out on Thursdays. Well, thank you all, and good luck to you. Let's hope that this chart here, takes a quick peek out, and that it looks somewhat like the week between Christmas and New Year's. 90 days from now or whatever. Let's hope that it just starts to go back down and then fades in, and looks like this again. It just seems like eventually people are either going to get vaccinated naturally or artificially, one way or the other, and there's going to be less places for the virus to spread. But who knows? We're in new territory. I guess not brand new. I guess they went through this in 1918, but we're in somewhat new territory as to how these things play out, and hopefully it'll get better. And I have great optimism for the future. We're really building our tech team right now, our what we're referring to as tech team and product team. We've got a lot of people that we're hiring to invest in a whole new digital platform for the future, and Camille and I are very optimistic, or we wouldn't be making these investments. So have a great day. Enjoy the rest of your meeting, and let's just keep trucking forward.
Right.
Do what James Clear recommended we do, and that is look for opportunities to fill our glass. Thank you all.
Thank you. So Margie, I do see that you put a comment in that you have had 3 cancellations this week, 2 for fear of travel, and a couple that they do not want to be vaccinated. And then Donna, you had a comment about Turks and Caicos beginning September 1st will require the letter from your doctor's stationery with your vaccination date. So not even the vaccination card, that will be a letter with the vaccination dates. I've not heard that yet, so that's very interesting. I do want to give you an update on AndavoConnects. We do have registration open. So if you have not completed your registration, get that done. We're going to have registration open through Thursday of this week. I had a typo on the date in my email that was sent out and had said the 26th of September, but it is the 26th of August. And we need to have that registration completed so that we can get our rooming list done and submitted to the hotel before we reach that deadline with our contract. So please, if you've not submitted that yet, go ahead and go in and get that registration done. We have put in the vaccination requirement, so anyone attending in person does need to state that they have been vaccinated and will attest to their vaccination status. So any questions that anybody has on anything or other people that have traveled that want to give an update on their travels? Cheryl, I see you have your comment about a couple of canceled cruises.
Hey, Kirsten, it's Jay Ireland. I just
Hi,
wanted
Jay.
Hi, I want to chime in because I have clients that went to Portugal on Saturday, and I don't know if anyone has had Portugal, but it's one of the trickiest destinations I've done, and that's saying something. When you have people there, you have to show, or sorry, the Americans aren't eligible yet for the EU digital certificate, except in Italy, where you can do the green card or whatever it is. But in Portugal, you have to do a self-test at every check-in for every hotel. And you have to do it from Friday to Sunday at a restaurant for indoor eating or a bar or a club or any sort of indoor venue. And so if you're in the EU and you have the EU digital certificate, you just show that. But if you are American, there's very specific rules that are very confusing. And it seems like some of the hotels enforce it, some of them do not, but I would say the good hotels have self-testing on site. So just FYI, if anyone's going to Portugal, make sure to really pay attention to those rules because they're the wonkiest I've seen. And then I think someone just asked about the green card or green thing for Italy. I actually don't know. My clients did it themselves for that. But I know that Italy does have a process where you can submit your vaccination as an American and get a digital green certificate, I think is what they're calling it, that's separate than the EU certificate. And that gives you access to everything in Italy.
Great, thank you. Anyone else? All right. Well, I will go ahead and let everybody go then for the afternoon. You guys all have a great day, and we will see you again next Monday. Thank you, everybody.